I am the founder and editor of an online platform called Forage and Sustain, and we talk about sustainable and conscious living. So here I have my industry experts who are going to be sharing some insights with us on single-use plastic products. So before we begin, I'm just going to get them to introduce themselves and give a little background on their businesses. So.
Hi there, I'm Julie Robichaud, and I am a founder at the store Eco and More. We're a sustainable living shop where our main focus is product refill. So we do green, beauty, and home products in bulk. You bring your jars and you fill on just what you need of our products. And we also have a lot of sustainable items in the shop, like bamboo toothbrushes, and the list goes on.
Awesome.
Hello, my name is Christy McDonald, and I am the founder and CEO of Bee Bags. Bee Bags are a beeswax wrap food storage solution, and they're made from 100% cotton, beeswax, jojoba oil, and resin. And basically, I had replaced plastic wrap in my household and wanted to take on plastic baggies, and I couldn't find anything on the market that was 100% plastic free, so I made them and brought them to market.
Hi everyone, my name is Wesley Wright. I'm the founder of Ahimsa Eco Solutions. We have two sides to the company. The first is Eco Consulting, and Eco Consulting, we work with small and medium enterprises in order to help them achieve their environmental and sustainability goals. We also offer zero waste products that are high quality, reusable alternatives to single-use plastic.
Thanks so much. So the talk will run for about 20 to 25 minutes, and we do have 5 to 10 minutes at the end, so you guys can ask them questions if you have any. So moving right in, what do you guys think of when you hear the term disposable? Anyone can start over.
When I hear disposable, I think of resources that are being mismanaged. And everything that we have available to us on this planet, if it's properly managed, it actually is continually circulatable. So you can never dispose of it. You can instead finish your use of it and then continue to reuse it again. So for anybody who's heard the term cradle to cradle, it's exactly that circularity. So you have the water cycle. You have nutrient cycles like phosphorus, nitrogen, carbon, and they're continually being reused. If anything is just disposed of, then that's the improper way to manage those resources.
Do you guys have anything to add? Okay, great. Okay, in your experiences, what single-use item do you find people have the most difficulty giving up?
I think it's just when you're out and about, not in your house, anything that you like at a restaurant, at a shop, if you don't have your reusables with you, that's what's the most trouble with. So it's just remembering to bring your reusable bags, your produce bags, your stainless steel straw, like just remembering. And when you get in the habit, that's when you have figured it out. And then there are still some items that we're working on, right? Like I can't think of off the top of my head, but you know, there's still some items that you'll come across when you're out that you can't have with you. But I guess we're working on that problem right now to solve it.
I find that the same thing that a lot of people just don't plan ahead. Like water bottles are probably the thing that one of the biggest thing for me. It's such an easy thing to bring. I travel with it everywhere I go. Sorry, talk a bit louder. Thank you. My cold will take me away, but I will try louder. Thank you for the feedback. So water bottles are a really great place to start, and I find that a lot of people just want to grab that plastic water bottle out of the restaurant or wherever they are. But I take my water bottle through the airport security empty and fill it on the other side. Everywhere I go, it's a really easy place to start that I think a lot of people think is just a big hassle, but it's not.
Building on what Christy ended up saying about water bottles, for a lot of people, they still have difficulty letting go of them, and I find it's generally for one of two reasons, maybe both. The first is the convenience factor, because often if people don't have their water bottle with them, they still need water to drink, and so they leave themselves no option but to actually go to the store to drink. Now, building on what you ended up saying, Julie, it's really just breaking that habit and reestablishing a new one. And so having that water bottle, the reusable and refillable water bottle, like the ones that we have with us, leave it with your purse, leave it with your backpack, leave it with your keys, so that you have that visual cue whenever you leave the door, you're going to bring it with you. And then it's just a matter of just always looking for refill stations wherever it is that you are. Now that said, there's a convenience factor. The other is also the perceived health benefits. That a lot of people have this conception that bottled water is actually a lot healthier than municipal tap water. And I challenge that. I have a master's degree in water treatment, so I'm fairly comfortable speaking to this. And what a lot of us may not know is bottled water is regulated by Health Canada at the federal level, and that regulatory body deals and perceives bottled water as food. You know this is the case if you look at your bottled water. It actually has a nutritional label, which is the same as foodstuffs. That is different than municipal drinking water. Municipal water is regulated by a different agency, and it has much more stringent guidelines that are referred to as the Provincial Water Quality Guidelines. And those same guidelines do not apply to bottled water. So I just want to kind of raise that awareness that a lot of people think bottled water is very clean, and it's not regulated to the same extent that municipal water is. So we encourage people to consider municipal water.
Well, and I think also the plastic of water bottles, right? That like leaches into the actual water.
I saw a post that I thought it really brought it home is bottled water companies are in plastic bottle. That's their industry. That's what they're trying to sell you, not clean water. It's a water bottle product, not the water.
Very interesting. Okay. Okay, so what is something that you believe the general public doesn't take into consideration when they use single-use plastic products?
I think they can't picture all of the landfills full of the one item they're using, that there are a million other people with the same item throwing it out. I think that's just, it's a perception thing. Like, we're not looking at the big picture. I think people are more aware now. With Instagram, we see like the posts of, you know, it's like one straw for you, but like a billion straws for everyone else, right? So it's just trying to picture a million of what you have in your hand in a landfill somewhere. Not
So far removed.
Yeah.
I think somewhere along the way, people also lost the perspective that they have the power. You have the power to ask people to make changes. Letty's Cheese is moving to cardboard packaging. There's a beauty company down here that's going to all ceramic packaging. So we have that power. We can ask consumers or products to be packaged in plastic free. Apple no longer, their earbuds used to come in little plastic pods and now come in cardboard. So big companies are seeing it. So I think a lot of times people don't know that we have the power to change, and we don't have to start big. Just little changes in our everyday habits can have really big impact, like straws, water bottles, just little changes, big impact.
Yeah, excellent point. And building on what you were alluding to earlier, Artie, is a lot of people may not realize the adverse health impacts of plastic. We often hear of the environmental concerns that we have with plastic, and those are absolutely legitimate. But what impacts the environment also impacts us. There is no disconnect as from a health and toxin perspective. And so I could spend the next 3 hours talking about the health concerns with plastic, environmental impacts, but in a nutshell, plastics break up into smaller and smaller pieces. So a lot of us may have heard of microplastics. Microplastics are small particles of plastic, 5 millimeters in length or smaller. They're now finding their ways into our marine ecosystems and now into our food chains and on the food that we actually consume. Microplastics have been found in beer, in honey, in fish, mollusks like shellfish, and sea salt, and the list goes on. And why this is a concern is we're taking it into our body, and plastics are actually, even though they seem smooth, are very rough on their surface. And that attracts other chemicals and other toxins. And so plastics themselves actually act as a carrier for other toxins that can impact our bodies. We also have plasticizers and plastics themselves that are estrogen mimics, hormone disruptors, and the list goes, suspected carcinogens. The list goes on and on and on. I will just say one more thing if I can, sorry, I'm quite passionate about this, is almost all plastic products have what's referred to as a resin code. If you look on the bottom, it has this little triangle of these arrows, and there's a number in that triangle. That's going to be from 1 through 7. The ones you want to be most concerned about from a human toxin perspective is numbers 3, which is polyvinyl chloride, and number 6, which is polystyrene. And unbeknownst to a lot of us, styrofoam is that number 6, which is one of the most toxic plastics that are out there. So 3 and 6, avoid as much as possible. Numbers 2 and numbers 5, I wouldn't say are the most safe, I would say are the least unsafe of all of them.
Yeah, that's good to know, especially for like takeout and stuff like that. Bring your own containers maybe or something like that. Okay, with less and less restaurants and food chains offering plastic straws, what is another single-use item you would like to see stop being offered to people?
Well, I guess this is mostly things that are found in your house, like dental floss and Band-Aids. So not something you'll find out and about, but things that you are buying to bring in your house. There are biodegradable options that are starting to pop up, and we have some in our shop. But yeah, things like that, like floss, it's just a tiny string of plastic, but if you use floss every day, that's like a large amount at the end of the year. And Band-Aids, again, that ends up in the landfill. It's plastic. Yeah, things like that.
There are options out there. We could go back to wax cardboard, different takeout options that I'd like us to all ask our restaurants to provide. We can carry straws, we can carry bamboo forks, we can all make a big impact.
I agree. I think that's a really salient point because a lot of us hear in the news about all the environmental issues that are facing us, and it's very easy to become overwhelmed and feel very helpless and powerless on large, broad, global scale impacts like climate change. But every single action that we're doing, every product that we're purchasing helps to continue to move that forward or continue to actually lessen our impact. And so I absolutely echo your words, Christy, that we need to re-empower ourselves by recognizing that everything that we choose to use, how long it lasts for, whether we choose to purchase it or not, makes a massive, massive difference. And I just want to comment about the floss. My wife and I actually went plastic free for a month last year. We detailed that on our website in a blog. And we actually found floss to be one of the more difficult things because floss is made of nylon and is a single-use item. And there are other alternatives out there like silk, but my teeth are really tight and they kind of overlap, and I just shred that stuff. So I would love to see another alternative on the market for that.
Okay, we'll work on that. But just something about like making these changes, it can feel very overwhelming sometimes. So we often get asked, like, how do we start? Like, if you're just new to this lifestyle, and it's really just looking at your day and seeing what is the one thing that I do every day that is the most wasteful. And you might have like 10 things that you do, but you don't want to make those 10 changes at once because it can be very expensive and overwhelming, and then you just feel guilty. So it's just looking at the number one, like cotton pads, for example, the cotton rounds that I use on my face, I now use reusable ones. That's one change I made in the last few months. Produce bags, I now use cotton ones. So like don't make all the changes at once because you might just give up. So just one little change every month or two.
And I think people don't realize how powerful the consumer voice is. So like if you have a brand that you think that could do better, like you should email them and maybe tag them on Instagram or something so that they can do better. Okay, next question. What was the first single-use item you guys gave up and why? And how did you find that transition, if you remember?
I try to do all that I can for the planet, and I think that the first single-use item I gave up was so long ago I don't really remember.
Plastic bags, maybe? I feel like that was one of the first things a lot of people
could be, but I think it's just ever since we tried to really move towards this plastic-free lifestyle that you actually find it becomes increasingly easy to continue to do that. And I'm happy to say that I think there are many fewer plastic items and single-use items that we use in our day-to-day lives at home than we don't. I mean, it's probably about 3 things, like floss being one of them. And some things that we can't avoid is the plastic wrap that a lot of the packaging actually comes in, that wraps the packaging. I'm not saying this to say that I'm great or blow my own horn. I'm sharing this to let you know that it's very possible. It's very easy to do, and exactly as Julie said, just start small. Identify one thing that you would like to remove from your life that's plastic-based. Look for an alternative, start doing that, and then you'll feel better and better. And then start working on something else. Before you know it, it's a huge lifestyle change that just happened.
Do you remember your first, what you gave up, the first thing?
Mine, I think, was a water bottle.
Yeah.
But it was probably, I used to fly a lot, and it was just something probably about 20 years ago. I started carrying a metal canteen. But the same as what you were saying, I just sort of built from there and started to use different products. But I'm just going to go back to the power piece. It was all about making little changes that I could make and that I could see, and asking companies to make those changes, and voting and asking with our politicians, support people, get out and vote for people that, those are the biggest changes for me, is I get out and vote. It's not a wasted vote. It's something that I can also support the politicians that believe the environment is more important than the economy. So without a strong environment, we're all in trouble.
Okay, so just moving into our last question, what is one key takeaway that you would like the audience to leave with today, just in terms of single-use plastic products?
You guys all have the power. I've been saying it throughout the whole talk. It is your choices, and there's no shame in anything. That's the other thing that bothers me, is I'll see a friend in a grocery store and they'll be like, oh, don't look. It's not about shame. It's about all doing the best that we can and empowering ourselves with the small choices to make big impact.
Well said. I echo that.
Yeah, I usually say progress over perfection. Yeah, which is, yeah.
Small, sustainable steps.
Yeah.
All good taglines.
Yeah.
I'll add one more. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much, guys. So I guess we'll just open up the floor if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask. Yeah.
Question about, thank you.
Oh, there he was.
I have a question about plastic water bottles. So I don't use plastic water bottles. However, when I travel, in particular to places where I'm not comfortable drinking tap water, that's when I'll start to purchase plastic water bottles, because I feel like I don't have an alternative. Do I? I just know that at MEC you can get your own water filtration system for like camping, like outback camping. Maybe that's an option. I'm not sure.
That's what I do when I travel overseas. When I don't trust the water, there are water purification systems that you can get for your water bottle, like tablets or a charcoal system. Maybe.
Yeah, my wife and I do a fair bit of traveling around the world, and we have our own portable system that actually purifies water. If you go to camping stores, just go in the camping section or the water purification. There are a lot of options, but that can be cumbersome, and if you're traveling late and or it can be expensive, there are a number of other options. First, the easiest option is don't buy a 500 milliliter bottle of water. If you have to buy bottled water, buy as large a volume as you can. Almost right beside it at the same store is going to be a 1.5 or a 2 liter bottle. That's one bottle instead of 4. And on a per volume basis, it's a little less plastic. You can also get the 5 liter bottles that some stores offer. And we've also actually purchased, when we were in Thailand, you can get a 18 liter container for the equivalent of $1. So it can be very cheap, and there are various countries in Southeast Asia, for example, where if you look, you will actually see these water refill stations. They use reverse osmosis water, so it's very pure, and it's insanely cheap. It's basically pennies for the liter. So it's about just starting to learn there are other options out there, and then starting to look for them.
Yeah, I was actually just in Malta in the fall, and we had that issue too. So what we did was buy as big as possible, like a water bottle instead of the small little ones, and then you just fill up your reusable water bottle for the day with that. Any other questions?
How would you recommend going about sort of promoting a plastic-free, more sustainable lifestyle to somebody without making them feel judged for what they're doing. Because a lot of times you'll say like, oh, why are you doing that? And instead of just asking them why they're doing that, they take it as you're attacking them. So how would you recommend navigating that?
I always think about leading by example, and it's sometimes when you're harping on people, they don't listen. But I feel like since I've started this journey, I've shown people the way. Does that make sense? So that they're not guilted into it, but they're like, oh, you do that? That's a great idea. My neighbors, my friends, my kids, unfortunately, get it hammered into them. And it's not really a hammer thing, because I don't want the shame part of it, but I just live by example. And I speak when somebody asks me a question, I'll offer suggestions. But I think it's by example and talking without expounding.
There's nothing more disempowering to somebody by making them feel bad for who they are or what they're doing. And if you come across as judgmental or angry, that's going to close their ears, it's not going to open them. And so so that's disempowering. How to empower somebody is to encourage them for any behaviors, any things that they're doing that are in agreement with what we're trying to get them to do or encourage them to do. And another big thing is education and helping to raise awareness that there are alternatives out there. So excellent question about the water bottles. There are alternatives out there, and just finding out about what they are.
Okay, great. I think we have time for one more question. 5 minutes? Okay.
Hi, I'm Wes's dad, and he's forgotten. He rides bike. I'm too old, so I rode motorcycle today. But when they asked what their first experience was, this kid in high school would take to his friends' birthday parties a little backpack with a plate from the house and a knife and a fork that were metal in high school, because he didn't want the plastic thrown out at the friend's party. So you're getting too old, you forgot.
Yeah, that's amazing.
About the plastic bags that we use into work when we go for grocery shopping, how come the stores are still kind of offering people to still pay 5 cents? Why don't they just eliminate that altogether? I really find it frustrating, like, oh, some people go, oh no, I'll take 3 bags now. Like, they just do it on purpose, and it just irritates me when I'm at the grocery store.
Well, I think that's like you were saying about lead by example. Like I started using the cotton mesh produce bags, and you don't see anyone using those at the shop. I haven't anyway, but I noticed the people behind me in line are looking like, oh wow, and like that's pretty cool. You can do that because it's not something that you can find just anywhere. Reusable bags like the totes, you can find those at any store, but the produce mesh ones. But yeah, that's one way. Just lead by example.
I think as well, this is where the voting comes in, and we need to ask our politicians to change that. There are countries that are banning the single-use bag, and sometimes it takes that for an industry to change in a way that we want. But again, it's a collective power to ask and demand that.
If I remember correctly, I think Ireland actually was among the first of all the countries around the world to actually they didn't ban, but they put a very heavy penalty, a payment system for plastic bags. And it was the equivalent of, I think, around 60 cents Canadian. And that's markedly different than 5 cents. If I can buy 12 plastic bags for $1, that's not necessarily going to stop many people from doing it. And so any environmental issue, any change in behaviors that one is looking to make, you could do that through one of two perspectives. You can come at it from a perspective of encouraging people to do it, and that's usually a reward system. Or you can discourage them from doing it by a penalty system. But the penalty has to be strong enough to discourage them from doing it. Paying a nickel for a plastic bag is not enough of a penalty or a disincentive for them to do it. And so we can absolutely lead by example, and that will help to raise awareness. But we can also try to encourage a greater penalty or taxation system on the plastic bags. And also just raising awareness to not just other consumers to bring their own bags, but raising awareness and letting these stores know, hey, I don't shop here anymore, I shop at store X because they no longer offer plastic bags.
Yeah, that's great.
Hi, I was just wondering, so there's some alternatives that are biodegradable, like you could do paper bags, for instance, and I was just wondering what your opinion is on biodegradable, or if you think it should be all zero waste.
Well, like a toothbrush, for example, it's either plastic or now bamboo or wheat straw. Wheat straw and bamboo are biodegradable. So, I mean, when there's only those those few options, I mean, you can't use your toothbrush forever. Yeah, I don't know really.
I think whenever possible, you stay away from the plastic because paper can be renewed, but whenever the best option is just not to use either and bring your own that you can keep using. But the biggest problem with paper is that it is expensive to produce because of we went to plastic because paper was expensive, and we've changed our systems, and now there's a lot of recycled paper, so it is a more sustainable option than plastic, which just doesn't ever biodegrade or ever leave our system, right? And I think the best system is to use reusable.
I don't have much more to add. Without exception, reusable is preferred to disposable or single use, and non-plastic is preferred to plastic.
Actually, there's also this system called TerraCycle. We have a TerraCycle box in our shop, so if someone buys something in our store that is not recyclable in the city program, like for example, we have bath salts in bulk, we also carry the pre-packaged. It comes in a pouch. So the customer can bring back the pouch to our store and put it in the TerraCycle box, and that gets recycled for sure. Because we all know that not everything that you put in the blue bin is going to actually get recycled. But TerraCycle, we pay for that service, but it's a service we offer for free to our customers. And that way we know, and they have peace of mind that that item will get recycled for sure.
I also just wanted to add, just think about it as like reuse, reduce, recycle. So first is reuse. If you can reuse something, do that first. Reduce your environmental footprint, and then recycle is like the last step. So biodegradable would still kind of be recycle, I guess. Yeah. I think that's it for today. So I hope everyone learned something, and we'll just give a round of applause to our panelists. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.